for your life.
Hello and welcome to Warner's Culture. Good morning, Syl. Good morning, Grain. And good mornings to everyone who is going to watch us live and record it. It doesn't make any difference for us that you are watching us live or recorded because today we both don't have our cameras on. And it is going to be like a podcast. Okay, so no problem. we are going to
Yeah.
do like this, and it's all okay. No problem. We are here because we want to, because we are making our choice every single day, and this is our choice to be here because we love to. We love to be here with you guys, and of
Yeah.
course with each other, and of course being live. So a lot of things, and in every minute detail, we do make our deliberate choices. And this is something very interesting because today, in just today on Instagram, on IG, someone just shared a video, and a guy was saying about if you want to quit smoking, he was addressing chain smokers. This is my thought of the day, of course. And he was saying that if you want to quit smoking, uh, don't try to push yourself, just make some adjustments. And that whenever you, the first thing he shared, that whenever you want to smoke or lit a cigarette, stop the conversation with anyone, turn off your mobile phone or TV or anything else you're watching or distracting, and just start taking every puff with being very conscious of every breath you are taking. Just be conscious of it. And this is enough to quit smoking. Okay, I am not sure about smoking specifically because I assume that it does have some physical effect also. But making choices, that was the thing, making deliberate choice. And it's hard to keep the burden of some nonsense choices deliberately. Just want to have that, oh okay, so I am, every puff and every breath I'm intaking is my deliberate choice. As
Mm.
human, we do have some sensibility, innate sensibility also, and which doesn't want
Yeah.
any unnecessary liabilities or burden on us. And then of course this smoking, or in this case it was smoking, but it could be anything. Once we start paying attention, we will automatically become very conscious of energy efficiency. So why I'm doing this? Oh, okay. Is it okay for me? Is it good for me? Is it bad for me? All sort of questions. And then, even if it is bad, I know, but still making these choices every single time will put a lot of burden, a lot of stress. And as human, we don't want, at least we don't want deliberately to have extra stress or burden on us. That was the thing. And I was just thinking about, because this is our everyday life. This is how I'm trying to live still. All he's, of course, he's there already, but he's also making every single time deliberate choices of living
Oh
life.
yeah, learning every day, learning, learning,
Yes,
learning.
but still, you are far ahead. This is something I know. So,
Oh,
so he is making it because it is almost innate to you, to making, like, okay, being deliberate. It's a kind of like a
oh,
contradiction,
right. Oh yeah,
but
oh
it
yeah,
is
oh yeah.
almost like innate to you that you are making. I
Yes,
still,
coexisting contradiction. Yeah.
yes, yeah, but it's still, I do sometimes, like, okay, I just a random thing, okay, I did. I do
Yeah.
catch myself again and again that, okay, Beena, be careful, be mindful what you are doing. But still I do, because it's a habit. And then of course it's quick, it's easy, and it's like also to avoid responsibility. Oh, I had no idea. Oh, I was not aware. These are very simple answers we can give to anything we did, just out of uh, kind of like, okay, following shirts or indulgence. When we do something and they say, oh yes I was, but at that time I had no idea that it is going to be so impactful on my health or in my life or in my relationship in general. We just say these things. Why? Because at that time we were deliberately avoiding to make a deliberate choice and take full responsibility. So of course we try to avoid responsibility as humans. We don't want that. We love to be free as much as we can. And this is what I was thinking. So it was a simple thing about quitting smoking. Okay, he was addressing Chinese smokers. And I understand that. I don't know that how it is going to be really uh, practically how beneficial it would be. I guess it will be very much. I'm just assuming because after some time, if you keep doing this, cannot take like, okay, oh my, okay, now it's a tiresome job
Yeah,
to just
exactly.
sit and keep smoking.
Exactly.
It's becoming a tiresome job for me. So I don't want to do this. So I assume that, again, I have no idea that how it is going to be, but I'm assuming because of some understanding of deliberateness and because of some understanding of intent and clarity of intent and taking
It's
responsibility
association management, really.
also. Yes, absolutely. So this is
That's
something
really
like
what it's all about.
association management, sir. How?
Well, you're associating that deliberateness with the smoking rather than just doing it by habit. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. In that sense, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So this is something very interesting. Okay, this is my thought of the day. Still, I cannot see you. I'm just keep going on till you will.
Yeah. No, no, no. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Yeah. My
Yes.
camera's not working for some odd reason today. Uh, and I have to reboot the computer, but I only discovered it 2 minutes before we came. So it takes too long to reboot the computer. So I wasn't able to do that. All right, let's do the screen share, and then you can start reading, and then while you do that, I'll see if I can get my camera to work. But it's all right,
Yes.
it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. I'm just waiting for that to load. But it's just still peculiar that it just today I didn't change anything, but it decided to stop working. So
Anyway, it happened yesterday with us also. It was anomalous that okay, the way
yeah,
things just get uh, differently. Not negative, nothing, but just it was different and unusual. And I was like, okay, so we
yeah,
again, it maybe it was just asking us to be more deliberate, more thorough, pay more attention. Don't take things on their face value that okay, it is going to automatically get done. Okay, be deliberate and press buttons and see that okay, it is saved. I was just making some changes in my files and I was not saving because it's the process is automatically going to be saved. And this is what happened.
yeah,
But it doesn't
yeah.
happen, but actually it just automatically deleted everything. And I was in shock. But okay, so universe just giving me some clue that pay more attention, be more thorough, and don't depend on even if it is just for software that it is going to do its job well, don't depend on it. Take care of your things, take care of yourself, be very thorough, be very careful, be more conscious about your actions and responses and everything. So this is what I'm just trying to get my takeaway from that, what happened yesterday. And
Wow.
again, today happened also. So because miscommunication, uh, me and Syl, we were busy doing some, okay, checking inventory. And he said something and I misheard that not only once but many times because the
Mm,
first time I misheard and second time I assumed that he is saying the same thing
yeah.
and then it keeps going and then of course I was like okay yeah so but today this was my conclusion yesterday that I misheard and then I assumed and okay so now I get it all the file messed up but
Yeah.
today when we were doing it again it was all good exactly what he was saying I did the same but yesterday a lot of
Yeah.
miscommunication misunderstanding and things okay at least me and Syl we do have at least something that okay no matter what how irritating how tiresome anything can be like okay doing of the same work again and again unnecessary burden and stress but still we do
Formele.
communicate. Yes,
Oh
we
yeah.
do communicate. And we focus on that we made things right in the past and we can do it again and even better.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's why we didn't had any misunderstanding about each other. That is the key. That
Yeah.
when things get wrong, we assume that the miscommunication, misunderstanding about something, we just exaggerated and painted over our relationship with each other. That was a misunderstanding about that situation, that particular situation in isolation. But people do get into this habit that then they said, oh, now we are in disagreement. Now we have misunderstanding. Now I don't know that who you are. And all sort of nonsense. Please pay attention that the misunderstanding was isolated in that particular situation only. And this is the lesson again. So yes, learning and growing in every situation. Okay.
Wonderful, Beena. Wonderful.
To become
wonderful.
a man of knowledge, thank you. To become a man of knowledge was an unceasing process.
Oh.
Being a man of knowledge was not a condition entailing permanency. There was never the certainty that by carrying out the predetermined steps of the knowledge being taught, one would become a man of knowledge. It was implicit that the function of the steps was only to show how to become a man of knowledge. Thus, becoming a man of knowledge was a task that could not be fully achieved. Wow, rather it was an unceasing process comprising, number one, the idea that one had to renew the quest of becoming a man of knowledge. Number two, the idea of one's, yes?
I want to just send you this link because I have to go across the road for a minute here. So I'll send it to you in a second so that you can open this, and we're on page 90. Well, the first page 90. Or you can just search for that title. Okay. You have it already, but just in case you don't, so.
Okay.
Sorry, folks.
No,
Somebody
no
came
problem,
sooner
no
than
problem.
expected. They were supposed to come later. They came now, so.
It's okay, Syl. As appropriate.
We just roll with it.
Yeah. Okay, we are losing your sound. Anyway.
Yeah, I say we just roll with it. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm just opening up my file so we can keep reading it. It is uploading and taking time. Error. Reload. Okay. Anyway, while it is uploading, I was just thinking that when I was reading that first paragraph, man of knowledge, and like it's not a permanent thing. I was sharing with Syl that there is one thing I feel that in grammar we need to make some changes, that there is no past tense for learned. There is nothing. It should not be in the dictionary. Learned, because it's an ongoing process. It has to be like, okay, no, there is no past tense for this. And this awareness needs to be actually instilled in our mind from the very beginning, and that will be very life-changing. I assume that it is going to be life-changing for every one of us, because once you understand that it is not only for me but it is for everyone. This process is just ongoing, and it is not going to be that, okay, I have learned something. No, it's always open-ended. It is always a process, and this is what Don Juan is saying. So thank you. This is brilliant. Okay, because thank you, way of impeccability. And because of this, I become aware of this idea, this perspective, that it is an ongoing process. It is not going to end anywhere, and it has to be, because if it will be ever like, okay, yeah, now this is the end, what I'm going to do, I don't know. I have no idea. If God forbid at some point I got this nonsense idea in my mind, that I have learned something. This status is really it's training. It's really limiting. It's so restricted. I don't know how can I be myself if I have with the I will get this idea that I have learned something completely. I'm in the process. This is what it has to be. Anyway, still my file is not uploading, so that's why I'm just keep going. Anyway, one of my friend was like, okay, very experienced, one more experienced than me in life in general, and he was working in a automobile company, and He asked me, I don't know why, but he asked me, Beena, I have a situation. What should I do? And I said, what? And then he says that I'm having offers from different companies, automobile companies, and they are offering me the maximum or the highest job, uh, and they are offering me a lot of benefits also. So I said, so why are you thinking? So he says that, but I just want to know that what's your opinion about this? And he was in his, I guess at that time he was in his late 40s or maybe mid 40s. Yes. And I said, don't take this job. And he says, what? And I said, yes, because I feel because the automobile companies, they are the market is very saturated here. And he says, oh, yes. And you have like 4 or 5 companies maximum. He says, or even less than that, like I guess, yeah, maximum 4. It's okay. So, of course, ultimately, that you are going to just shuffle in the same field. If you want to stay in the same field, you are going to just choose between these 4 companies. He says, yes. And this is the maximum you can ever get. And he says, yes. I said, yes, you will get benefits right now, but you will lose your spark in life. You will have nothing to look upon that, okay, what you want to, like to excel more in career. And then you will start becoming grumpy. And that was something, and we start laughing, and then he says, Beena, I guess that you're right. And he said, no, I don't want to get this job right now. Because if he will get promoted to the maximum, then he says that I will lose connectivity with the with my vendors, and I will lose connectivity with other people, which I have right now. I will just sit in my office making some decisions and then going nowhere. Process is so precious. Process is so precious. Have you ever think like, okay, what is death? The circulation of blood just stop. Heartbeat just stop. This is death. So why we assume that in the process of learning and growing, we need to get something, to achieve something, and then stop? No. Plants, trees grow and grow and grow and become more beautiful, more textured, more beautiful, and then renew themselves. This is the same applies. It applies to learning and growing also for me. Okay, till Syl will come back. Whatever I have, I will keep reading. The third idea. Okay, I will read from the first. The idea that one had to renew the quest of becoming a man of knowledge. Beautiful idea, beautiful suggestion. The idea of one's impermanency. Yes. And the idea that one had to follow the path with heart. Exactly. Yes. So beautifully said. The constant renewal of the quest of becoming a man of knowledge was expressed in the theme of the 4 symbolic enemies encountered on the path of learning: fear, clarity, power, and old age. Wow, interesting. Wow. In my dictionary, I don't have this old age concept. I don't know why, but I don't have that. Age is something I just accepted that, okay, this is the process, but effects and impacts, not necessarily, depends. Uh, Renewing the quest implied the gaining and maintenance of control over oneself. Oh, wow. Renewing the quest implied the gaining and the maintenance of control over oneself. A true man of knowledge was expected to battle each of the 4 enemies in succession until the last moment of his life, in order to keep himself actively engaged in becoming a man of knowledge. Yet, despite the truthful renewal of the quest, the odds were inevitably against man. He would succumb to this last symbolic enemy. This was the idea of impermanency. Maybe I need some assistance from Syl in this, because some very interesting but unusual for me. Or maybe I'm not able to understand that. That's what he's trying to say here. These ideas are quite foreign to me. I'm going to read this again. The constant renewal of the quest of becoming a man of knowledge was expressed in the theme of the four symbolic enemies encountered on the path of learning: fear, clarity, power, and old age. Again, clarity, maybe it is not used because they didn't use the precise word for that. It needs more clarity. Sorry, Carlos, your clarity needs more clarity here. Renewing the quest implied the gaining and the maintenance of control over oneself. Yes, absolutely. This is completely I understand. A true man of knowledge was expected to battle each of four enemies in succession. Yes, until the last moment of his life. Yes. In order to keep himself actively engaged in becoming a man of knowledge, yet despite the truthful renewal of the quest, the odds were inevitably against man. He would succumb to his last symbolic enemy. This was the idea of impermanency. Okay. Offsetting the negative value of one's impermanency was the notion that one had to follow the path with the heart. The path with heart is a metaphorical way of asserting that in spite of being impermanent, one still had to proceed and had to be capable of finding satisfaction and personal fulfillment in the act of choosing the most amenable alternative and identifying oneself completely with it. Don Juan synthesized the rationale of his work, whole knowledge, in the metaphor that the important thing for him was to find a path with heart and then travel its length, meaning that the identification with the amenable alternative was enough for him. The journey by itself was sufficient. Any hope of arriving at a permanent position was outside the boundaries of his knowledge. Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Okay, now I am saying like here, but I'm saying it because I am trying to understand and trying to be impeccable. So the way of impeccability understanding is making it like there for me. Yes, it is. It could be very profound for some people. Yes, or maybe and just not for some people, for new. Yes, I am saying not in any ego or anything. I'm just saying that I am aware of it, and because it has been so precisely elucidated in way of impeccability and capital H hearing and bonus project, that I'm assuming that okay, now it's like that. Like, do we really need to say it in this way, or maybe a way? Isn't it obvious? But of course, it is not obvious till you make it obvious. So thank you, Don Juan, for sharing this. And this is so wonderfully explained now in the last paragraph. It was not before. I was assuming like, oh, I'm not getting it, Syl. I need your assistance. But I now understand that doing anything with your heart, it applies to every single aspect of our life, in every aspect of our relationship with everything. Relationship with our work, relationship with our with the universe, relationship with ourselves, relationship with our true self. Not only ourselves, but I'm saying it because I need some more words for that to elucidate more precisely. But this is the way it has to be in every aspect of our life. We assume that it is like, okay, yes, I'm doing, but the should mindset, the superiority paradigm, and of course the should mindset, it is already, oh, no, it is spread over more than what we assume it is. If we just start asking ourselves, whatever I'm doing, why I'm doing, we will get more than 50%. Even I can say about myself uh, right now, more than 50% of things which I do normally, most likely they are coming from the should mindset. And that was the core and the foundation for me to become a people pleaser. That was a should mindset. I have to be nice in any situation. I have to be nice with everyone. I had no idea of difference between niceness and goodness. I was assuming that was goodness. But being nice is something different, of course. So what Don Juan is saying here, to do everything, especially the quest, with the heart, because you cannot do. Right now, when I'm doing something from way of integrity, like coming here, doing live, and of course learning and growing, for me, this is the joy. I don't need a vacation from that. I don't need to relax other than this. This is my retreat. This is my relaxation. This is my joy. If you are feeling in anything, it's a simple criteria for everyone, of course, that if you're feeling that, okay, this is what I'm doing and now I need to relax, then it is not being done with your heart. Wherever your heart will be, you will not looking for any relaxation, any vacation, pauses, stop. No, no, you will keep going, and then you will feel more energized, more enriched in life. Whatever, like artists, when they are painting, they don't ask for like, okay, oh, now I have been painting for 10 hours, so now, okay, now I need to, or maybe for 2 years, so now I'm going for vacations. When they are going for vacation, they are still painting because they are following their heart. This is what Don Juan is saying, at least this is what I understand. Anyway, I'm waiting for Syl to come and join us because somehow the file he sent it to me is not working and I cannot read further because I need someone to scroll a bit. Let's see. Nope, I can't even do anything about it. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, because it's just dragging now. I need to stop this. Okay. So now I cannot even stop the meeting. Okay. We will keep going. Yesterday, when I was sharing about the space, Syl, okay, very graciously, he shared with me, and I took the full advantage of it. People take it in a bit negative way, taking advantage. For me, it's all in caps, way of impeccability term. When universe provide you something and you see that, okay, there is a value, grab it with your teeth, claws, and everything. Like, okay, no, how can I just let it go? And this is what I did. And he provided that space for me. The moment I realize and understand the value of that space, that free, neutral space where I can be myself, where I can be more, and there was an opportunity to be more, then I realized that what I was missing in life, that is the awareness. That should mindset is also like that. We might have not even the slightest idea that how much of our life is tinted by the shoulds till we start paying attention and having a different paradigm. That is the value of replacement in our life. And so when he created this space, and now I'm sharing, of course, with him, when we have this space, I was wondering about like when people will come and see that there is a space I can have this in my life, then they will realize that how much of their life was tainted by the shoulds, and it was not free. The true freedom is when you can be yourself with the intent of learning and growing, so you can be more. And this is the space, I assume this is, at least this is how I perceive it, and this is what I get out of it. I'm still getting out of it. The value of free space in our life, the value to be neutral, value where you don't need to be anything. The only idea is, the only perspective is, we should not be negative. That's the only thing. If you are not negative, then you don't need to be good and or other things. No, just be yourself. Negative in the sense that because everyone else also has their own rights and their space and their freedom. So if negativity is actually like this, that I am invading in someone else's space and their rights, I'm violating their rights. This is the negativity, the definition of negativity for me, because I am putting out stress on them. I'm giving them, I'm disrupting their peace of mind, their peace of being. I'm disrupting peace in general, but I am violating their rights. This is negativity. What else? If I'm minding my own business, if I'm not being negative with anyone, I don't need to be nice or gentle with. No, I can be myself without being negative. And then we realize that how less stress, how much we are stressing in our life, and how free we can be. The value of free space is where you can meet your real self. At least this has happened with me. Once you get out of that shoulds, once you get out of all the nonsense, once you get out of all the burdens and stress that, oh, you need to be this, you need to be that. No, nothing. You just need to be yourself, okay? Yes, of course, their space is the possibilities. So you can be more, but it will be your choice. This is where I met myself. This is where I found my heart. Oh, this is where I feel myself. This is the value of true self, true free space or true freedom. And this is what we were sharing. And so, this was so beautiful. And why it was beautiful? Because it was coming just abruptly, raw, unprocessed, not prepared, from my heart. This is what I feel. And this is what I do every single day. This is how I'm living now. And I feel blessed in every aspect of my life. I feel blessed because having freedom to choose what you want, who you want to be. This is actually the blessings. We assume the blessing is this and that and that. If we get to the core of it, the true blessing is having the freedom. All caps freedom, actually. I must say that. This freedom is not just an ordinary freedom that, oh, you can exercise some rights. No, this is the freedom where you can be yourself and then you will meet yourself. It's a process of our journey towards yourself. Not going out in the universe, but just towards yourself. I'm in the process of, but I see that, okay, at least I find myself. I know that who I am. To be completely one with your true self, this is a big process. I assume it's a big process. And it will come.
I'll be back in a minute, Beena.
Thank you so much for coming. I was just rambling here. Thank you for saving me. Anyway, I don't know that where I will be one with my true self completely, entirely. I don't know, but at least I know who I am. And this is the perks of having this free space. I love this. Thank you so much for just if anyone is listening, having me and bear with me, because I was just sharing whatever was coming to me. Thank you so much for just being patient. And Syl, I think that okay, now you should come. Are you still there? Hello? Okay, so it's still busy. No problem. Oh, still you have to do a lot of editing here because I'm just reading and sharing.
Ah, why can't I hear you now? Dang it.
I hear you, sir.
Ah, very good. Oh, you were just very soft. I don't know why. Right. Keep going,
Thank
Beena. Keep
you.
going. Keep going.
Thank you. I was just keep going and going and going, and I felt like, okay, I'm rumbling here. So please, because the link you sent it to me was not working.
Ah.
Yes.
Well, you have the file somewhere. I sent you the file.
Yes, but I cannot just do the talking. Of course, you can do this, and then of course also
Yeah.
the searching. So
Yeah.
I said,
All
okay.
right. Well, let me pull up the file again. Uh, so you couldn't open that link, and you have it on your computer saved somewhere. But all right.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. I will just check.
Yeah. I mean,
But now
I
you
know
have
I
to.
know I sent you the file before. I wonder why you couldn't
Okay.
open it. That's weird.
No, it is just whenever I'm trying to open it, it is just saying that okay, error, reload, and then I'm reloading, and then error.
Oh, that's very strange. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So you have to edit all what I was just talking here. I don't know what I was talking. I know, but it
Oh,
was like
I
very
don't need
random.
to edit it. I don't need to edit it. I just trust you. Never mind. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. All right, let's continue. The second unit. So on that first one there, just this idea that you have to always be learning, right? To be a person of
Yes.
knowledge was an unceasing process. That's it. And thing is, in Carlos's description here and before strenuous labor, he has this underlying cultural mind from superiority paradigm that learning is work, learning is difficult, learning is stressful. Nonsense. Learning is joyful, learning is fun, learning is easy when you are in attunement. Yeah, sometimes you have to make effort, but that doesn't mean it's difficult. It's like when you're going to go and play some game, right? You make effort playing the game, but that's part of the joy is making effort. See, when play and effort are together, that's joy, right? That's how
Mm.
we get joy from play. You're making an effort of some kind, yeah? You
Yes.
enjoy making an effort, that's play. When you don't enjoy making an effort, that's what we've come to understand as being work, which is a terrible idea. But when we understand that learning and play can be synonymous, can be the same thing, and the universe sets it up for us to learn in joyful ways, if we like learning, then learning becomes play, and it's never. Yes, there's a lot of effort involved, but it's not stressful effort. Okay, very important. So yes, you can never think that you've learned all there is to learn. There's always more, in other words, right? As Biala is so fond of saying. The second unit.
Yes.
All right, so here we get into this ally whole thing with Carlos. And I want to just put a disclaimer here. Carlos gets this thing with the ally all wrong, and it will change later on. There'll be different understandings of what ally means and what he thinks it's so important. No, it's not necessarily, right? When he says a man of knowledge had an ally, the way he is saying it is like that's what you need to be a man of knowledge, but it's not necessary, right? Don Juan has even said so, but Carlos is unable to make that nuanced distinction. When Don Juan says a man of knowledge has an ally, he's just talking from his experience. He's not saying a man of knowledge has to have an ally. Okay, see
Mm.
the distinction? He's just
Yes.
stating it as, well, yeah, man of knowledge as an ally. It's like, well, I have an ally. I'm a man of knowledge. Or the man of knowledge that he knows, they all have allies, right? So it's not
Yes.
an indispensable thing. It's a peculiarity of Don Juan's expression and his use of language, as we'll see later on, that he says things that are true, but they're not necessarily a rule, right? But Carlos takes it as a rule. All right, you want to read, Beena?
Please continue a bit.
Oh, okay. A man of knowledge had an ally. The idea that a man of knowledge had an ally, I want to read person of knowledge, that a person of knowledge had an ally was the most important of the 7 component themes. Yeah, well, it's not, but okay. For it was the only one that was indispensable to explaining what the man of knowledge was. See, Carlos gets this all wrong, but all right, what a person of knowledge was. In Don Juan's classificatory scheme, a person of knowledge had an ally, whereas the average man did not. And having an ally was what made him different from ordinary people. Don Juan described an ally as being a power of transporting a man beyond the boundaries of himself. That is, an ally was a power that allowed one to transcend the realm of ordinary reality. Consequently, to have an ally implied having power, and the fact that a man of knowledge had an ally was by itself proof that the operational goal of the teachings had been fulfilled. See, this whole focus on power too. But anyway, since the goal was to show how to become a person of knowledge, and since the person of knowledge was one who had an ally, another way of describing the operational goal of Don Juan's teachings was to say that they also showed how to obtain an ally. The concept person of knowledge as a sorcerer's philosophical frame had meaning for anyone who wanted to live within that frame only insofar as they had an ally. I have classified this last component theme of person of knowledge as the second main structural unit because of its indispensability for explaining what a person of knowledge was. It's very interesting that in this book, earlier, Don Juan said he didn't have to have an ally. Huh? He said so. Anyway, it got
Yes.
missed there. It got missed so. Uh, it, it just is very helpful, but it wasn't essential. I have classified this, indispensable. In Don Juan's teachings, there were 2 allies. Now, again, all wrong here. The first was contained in the datura plants, commonly known as chimsonweed. Don Juan called that ally by one of the Spanish names for the plant, Hierbo del Diablo, devil's weed. According to him, any species of datura was the container of the ally. Yet every source had to grow a patch of one species, which he called his own. Not only in the sense that the plants were his private property, but in the sense that they were personally identified by him. Don Juan's own plants belonged to the species Inoxia. There seemed to be no correlation, however, between the fact that differences that may have existed between the 2 species of Datura accessible to him. The second ally was contained in a mushroom identified as belonging to the genus Psilocybe. It was possibly Psilocybe mexicana, but the classification was only tentative because I was incapable of procuring a specimen for laboratory analysis. Don Juan called this ally humito, little smoke, suggesting that the ally was an analogous to smoke or to the smoking mixture he had made with a mushroom. And again, it may be the smoking mixture, which is a group of different elements. Yes, that particular mushroom may be an important element, but it doesn't mean that allies in the mushroom allies in the smoke mixture, a lot of other stuff. So anyhow, just, nuance that may be missed by Carlos. The smoke was referred to as if it were the real container, yet he made it clear that the power was associated with only one species of psilocybe. Thus, special care was needed at the time of collecting in order not to confuse it with any of a dozen other species of the same genus which grew in the same area. All right, I guess he didn't mention this before, that Don Juan had made the specific focus, so here it is. All right. An ally as a meaningful concept included the following ideas and their ramifications. An ally was formless, an ally was perceived as a quality, an ally was tameable, an ally had a rule. All right, so he's going through these 4 classifications. An ally was formless. Now, again, I read this for interest's sake, but it's not replicatable. It's not utilizable with us in this form. So, to me, I just sort of read it for interest and kind of skip over it and look to pull out understandings of their character, of their mindset, of their thinking, their ideas, how they process language, thinking, etc. Right? So you get other value out of this, but the thing itself, not really. An ally was formless. An ally was believed to be an entity existing outside and independent of oneself. Yet, in spite of being a separate entity, an ally was believed to be formless. I've established formlessness as a condition that is the opposite of having definite form, a distinction made in view of the fact that there were other powers similar to an ally which had a definitely perceivable form. An ally's condition of formlessness meant that it did not possess a distinct or vaguely defined or even recognizable form. And such a condition implied that an ally was not visible at any time. In other words, an ally is an abstract entity or an abstract understanding. Entity might even be not the correct word, because in the case of the smoke, there's not really an entity as there is so much in the devil's weed, which kind of has a personality, right? But even that, the personality of the devil's weed, that can, if you look very carefully, that can simply be how it responds to your character, and it exaggerates or exacerbates your own character tendencies, right? So if you are greedy, then it taps into your greed and gives your greed more room and space and exaggerates it and exacerbates it. So does the thing itself have a personality and an intent? No, I don't think so. Neither of these things, right? They're an abstract that gives some kind of value. That's it. That's okay. An ally, well, it's useful. It's my ally. It gives me a thing. But ally sort of implies, it personifies this. And neither of these things are an individual that have a psychology, that have intent like Mescalito, right? They are simply just effect. Yeah. And we tend to anthropomorphize and put personality and idea onto things. We do it with our cars. This car has this kind of a temperament. The car has none of that. It simply has uh, quirks of its construction that make it seem that way, right? So neither of these allies are, he calls them entities, but they're not really entities. They're simply abstract processes, really, right? Abstract methodologies. Yeah. I mean, yes, there is a connectivity to a greater intent, like like when Don Juan says the ally won't take you. Again, is this the ally's choice, or is this as a result of issues with you and your psychology and your intent? See, to me, I don't think there's any uh, conscious intent on these. They aren't entities that think, as it were, or intend or feel, perceive. No, they are responsive to you, and you create that effect in them. Right? I think it's very important to understand. Anyway, an ally was perceived as a quality. Yeah, see, that makes much more sense now. It's a quality rather. A sequel to an ally's formlessness was another condition expressed in the idea that an ally was perceived only as a quality of the senses. That is to say, since an ally was formless, its presence was noticed only by its effect on the sorcerer. Don Juan classified some of those effects as having anthropomorphic qualities. But that's him putting this onto the thing, right? Not the thing having it in himself. He depicted an ally as having the character of a human being, thus implying that an individual sorcerer was in the position of choosing the most suitable ally by matching his own character with the alleged anthropomorphic characteristics. The two allies involved in the teachings were presented by Don Juan as having a set of antithetical qualities. Don Juan categorized the ally contained in the Tura Inoxai as having two qualities. It was womanlike, and it was a giver of superfluous power. He thought these two qualities were thoroughly undesirable. And I love this from Don Juan, that he thinks superfluous power is undesirable. Now, it's not necessarily that it's superfluous. But when you don't have good character, if you're not impeccable, superfluous power is, it's like taking superfluous medication. Yeah, same thing. You can get into real serious trouble by taking your very potent medication, but you take too much of it, it can kill you or mess you up, right? But in the right
Yes.
dosage, it works. Same thing with power. Right? You have to really think of it as medication and it as a much better.
Appropriateness again.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. His statements on the subject were definite. But he indicated at the same time that his value judgment on the matter was merely a personalistic choice. Very interesting use of the word personalistic, not personal choice, but personalistic choice. The most important characteristic was undoubtedly what Don Juan called its woman-like nature. The fact that it was depicted as being woman-like did not mean, however, that the ally was a female power. It seemed that the analogy of a woman may have been only a metaphorical way Don Juan used to describe what he thought to be an unpleasant effect of the ally. Right, because not all women have that, and it's not in all women either. It's just a particularness that's perceived to be, not necessarily actually so. Anyway, besides, the Spanish name of the plant, yerba, because of its feminine gender, as opposed to yerbo, which would be masculine, may have also helped to create the female analogy. At any rate, this personification of this ally as a woman-like power ascribed to it the following anthropomorphic qualities. It was possessive, it was violent, it was unpredictable, it had deleterious effects. Again, those are qualities in people, right? And if you encourage the right drug that encourages this in you, well, then it's easy to say it's the drug's fault and the drug is doing this to you. No, it has nothing to do with the drug. It's your tendencies, right? Possessive, violent, unpredictable, that's most superiority paradigm psychologies, right? We have that in us. Whether we are this way in general or not, it's part of our default psychology that we've grown up, right? It's in us, even be us in our DNA. Yeah? We have to work hard to not be that way. Yeah? Don Juan believed that the ally had the capacity to enslave the men who became its followers. He explained this capacity as the quality of being possessive, which he correlated with a woman's character. The ally possessed its followers by bestowing power on them, by creating a feeling of dependency, and by giving them physical strength and well-being. Again, perfectly explained by a psychology that's not in charge of itself. Right? Very simple. Very, very, very simple. If you have neediness, you power hungry, you are involved in the superiority paradigm, wanting to be dominant and powerful and all this, anything that makes you feel that way is going to immediately exacerbate those qualities in you, those tendencies, those ideas, those desires, and it's going to seem like it's caused it in you. It didn't cause anything. It just activated these, gave them head, gave them license, right?
Yes.
Don Juan believed that the ally had by giving them physical strength and well-being. This ally was also believed to be violent. Its woman-like violence was expressed in its forcing its followers to engage in disruptive acts of brute force. Why that is particularly associated with being woman-like, I have no idea. But Don Juan grew up in an age and an era where perceptions of men and women were much more defined and rough than it is now. Also, I don't put this very much on Don Juan. He says a lot of things for Carlos's benefit, and Carlos also interprets according to his thinking. Yeah, so take this with a pinch of salt here, as we'll see later on. This is I think it's more for the effect at the time than anything else. And it helped Carlos because that's how he thinks. And so he's using an analogy that's in Carlos's language, as it were, right? Another woman-like characteristic was unpredictability. For Don Juan, it meant that the allies' effects were never consistent. Now, this characteristic for unpredictability, yes, I grew up where that was the idea that women were unpredictable. But it's an idea that had a confirmation bias to it. Yeah. You grow up with this idea, and then, of course, confirmation bias makes you notice that in women, which confirms it. But the problem is, everyone is unpredictable. Men, women, everybody. Yeah. We just, you don't notice it in men as much because you don't have this idea that men are unpredictable. They're just as unpredictable. Right? Yeah, it's amazing. And a lot of the unpredictability of women comes about because of strategic need, not because they are inherently so. So it has nothing to do with their inherent character as a woman. It has to do with them needing to deal with ridiculous men. Yeah. You have to be unpredictable, otherwise you become prey. Yeah? For Don Juan, it meant that the Allies' effects were never consistent. Rather, they were supposed to change erratically, and there was no discernible way of predicting them. The Allies' inconsistency was to be counteracted by the sorcerer's meticulous and dramatic care of every detail of its handling. Any unfavorable turn that was unaccountable as a result of error or mishandling was explained as the result of the Allies' woman-like unpredictability. Again, uh, Don Juan, he's not a fan of the devil's weed, and he did a bit and then he left it only because his teacher showed it to him. But when you go back into this whole anthropomorphizing of the devil's weed, and you see how it goes back into misogynistic culture, right? We see the tail end of misogynistic culture. But when you go back a couple of centuries, the division between masculine and feminine was massive. Right? I mean, for instance, like women not even being allowed to have an opinion, whether or not they were allowed from their own internal point of view. They wouldn't even dare express the opinion because they would just get into trouble and be beaten or whatever, right? So we have to, it's preposterous and it's horrible to imagine. But when you look at it in this way now, and you see it through that cultural lens, you see how this stuff in the time that this whole power and all this was very important. That was a deep superiority paradigm. You were being, oppressed and suppressed by other superiority paradigm cultures, and your life was it's a mess. So just understand this in the historical context also, right? And thank heavens we don't live in those times anymore. But alongside its womanlike nature, this ally had another facet which was also perceived as a quality. It was the giver of superfluous power. Don Juan was very emphatic on this point, and he stressed that as a generous giver of power, the ally was unsurpassable. It was purported to furnish its followers with physical strength, a feeling of audacity, and the prowess to perform extraordinary deeds. In Don Juan's judgment, however, so exorbitant a power was superfluous. He stated that, for himself at least, there was no need for it anymore. Nevertheless, he presented it as a strong incentive for a prospective person of knowledge, should the latter have a natural inclination to seek power. And in the days of superiority paradigm, where, superiority paradigm was rampant, like in the colonial times, where's the ethics of colonialism? Weren't even considered, right? It's why it collapsed, obviously, in the longer run. But this just the madness of it. It's a complete distortion, and the power hungriness. In days gone by, when you were power hungry, you could basically do whatever you like to get your power. There was no stopping you, especially like in a colonial context, right? The laws of what you did to the colonials, to the people you civilizing supposed to be, you could do whatever you liked, So power and laws were harder to enforce the further back we go in time. Yes, there were laws, but enforcement was a tricky business, right? If you had power, the laws didn't apply to you. It's as simple as that. And that could simply mean physical power too. It's very interesting. Don Juan's idiosyncratic point of view was that the ally contained in psilocybe mexicana, on the other hand, had the most adequate and most valuable characteristics. It was male-like, and it was a giver of ecstasy. He depicted this ally as being the antithesis of the one contained in the datura plants. He considered it to be male-like, manly. Its condition of masculinity seemed to be analogous to the female-like condition of the other ally. That is, It was not a male power, but Don Juan classified its effects in terms of what he considered to be manly behavior. In this instance, too, the masculine gender of the Spanish word humito may have suggested the analogy to male power. The anthropomorphic qualities of this ally, which Don Juan judged to be proper to a person, were the following. It was dispassionate, it was gentle, it was predictable, had beneficial effects. That seems to be much more feminine than masculine in gender, but all right, that's my perception again. Right? Reverse sexism, maybe. But,
Yes.
certainly I don't equate gentleness with masculinity. Do you, Beena?
Yeah. No.
No. Dispassionate, yes, maybe predictable. I don't know. I don't see either men or women. They're both very predictable in general. And having beneficial effects, well, I don't know. I guess much more beneficial effects from women than men, in my opinion. But okay, that's just me and my bias. So, I think it's just like Carlos suggests here, coming from the word, and then you put the qualities, and okay, it's just one of those things that happens. I don't think it's anything to put anything into it. Don Juan's idea of the dispassionate nature of the ally was expressed in the belief that it was fair, that it never actually demanded extravagant acts from its followers. It never made men its slaves because it did not bestow easy power on them. On the contrary, Humito was hard but just with its followers. The fact that the ally did not elicit overt violent behavior made it gentle. It was supposed to induce a sensation of bodilessness, and thus Don Juan presented it as being calm, gentle, and a giver of peace. And this is very interesting. It was supposed to induce a sensation of bodilessness. You experienced that, Carlos, but he doesn't say it induced a sensation of bodilessness. Now, sensation, he can still cover himself to say, did I actually have a body or not? Or lose my body? No. It's just a sensation. But you see, he's doubling his caution here to not want to seem like, oh, I believe in this weird stuff. It was supposed to induce a sensation of bodiness. It did induce a sensation of bodilessness in you. You weren't sure if that sensation was real or not. But like Don Juan said, this whole idea that it was real is irrelevant. If it experienced it as real, it was real. Right? And thus Don Juan presented it as being calm, gentle, and a giver of peace. It was also predictable. Don Juan described its effects on all its individual followers and in the successive experiences of any single person as being constant. In other words, its effects did not vary, or if they did, they were so similar that they were counted as being the same. As a consequence of being dispassionate, gentle, and predictable, the ally was thought to have another manly characteristic, a beneficial effect on the character of its followers. Humito's manliness was supposed to create a very rare condition of emotional stability in them. Don Juan believed that under the allies' guidance, one would temper one's heart and acquire balance. I really want to emphasize the cultural, historical effects of this gender perception. We today see gender as being more of a style difference, not as a massive inherent difference. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to thinking, for instance, or character, women can have courage, women can have sensibility, women can have sobriety, women can think, they can figure things out, they can do math, they can do science. This is a new idea. I want to emphasize this. This is a new idea in the world. It's come about. When did women start going to school, for instance? Yeah. They weren't even considered able to go to school at some point. It's preposterous, right? So, this massive misperception of both men and women, this has been going on for centuries, right? So it's deeply, deeply, deeply culturally entrenched, and it's not even questioned. Yeah. So when Don Juan picks this up from his teachers, that's just the language. It has it in the language. They don't necessarily subscribe to it themselves, but they use the language. All right. So let's just understand this. It's a language thing rather than a belief thing. Yeah. A corollary of the Allies' manly characteristics was believed to be a capacity to give ecstasy. The other facets of its nature was perceived also as a quality. This other facet of its nature was perceived also as a quality. Humito was credited with removing the body of its followers, thus allowing them to execute specialized form of activity pertinent to the state of bodilessness. And Don Juan maintained that those specialized forms of activity led unavoidably to a condition of ecstasy. The ally contained in the psilocybe was said to be ideal for men whose natures predisposed them to seek contemplation. Very interesting. All right, we'll continue tomorrow with the ally was untamable, right? Yes, Beena?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I'm almost tempted to skip all of this, but my thoroughness doesn't like me to skip because, there's always value. There's always value. Yeah. All right. That's very cool. Very cool. Any questions, thoughts, comments? Anything I
Yes.
should be aware of that you were sharing while I was away?
You will edit it anyway. In the first, when he was just explaining the enemies, and he says clarity. I guess that we had it before also, but again, I'm just I forgot that, and I'm still confused. Why clarity is the enemy?
Yeah. Say that again, please, Beena.
I was saying that okay, in Don Juan in the beginning mentioned that among four enemies, one is clarity. So
Right.
I
Oh,
was
the
confused.
enemies of a person of knowledge. Right, right,
Yes.
right, right, right. It was fear, clarity, power, and old age. The reason he says clarity as an enemy is because of simply arrogance. If you put arrogance instead of clarity, yeah, now you
Yes.
understand it. But it's the arrogance that comes from some sort of understanding, some sort of greater awareness, deeper understanding, right? Some sort of clarity. Yeah, some sort of clarity. It's not the clarity in itself that's the problem. It's what results from the clarity that's the problem. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. I was saying that okay, maybe I think that you explained it before also, but somehow I
I
just
never said it in that way, Bina. Actually, it's a very, very nice way to say it. That
hmm,
it's not clarity itself that's the enemy. It's what results from the attainment of clarity. That's why Don Juan says to overcome this enemy, you have to defy it, which is what you were saying. We never stop learning. Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Isn't that powerful? That's very powerful. I got to
Yes.
go again, Bina.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, I
the
think we
the
can end live here today.
yeah, the RV Undermount thing,
Yes.
they're coming now instead of a little
Okay.
later, so
Okay,
they're a
no
little
problem. No
earlier.
problem. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you so much, Syl, for still doing this because, yes, we had some problems, but okay. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. And please, if you are watching us recorded, please do click like and subscribe to this channel
yeah,
and leave a
yeah,
comment if you like to. Thank you so much and
yeah,
hope
yeah,
to see you guys
yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah, yeah.
Bye for
Let me
now.
just say hello to the people, the Skatari and BM Events also
Okay.
joined us. Oh, brilliant. Hello, people. And I didn't look to see if there were any comments in
Mm.
chat. Joseph was chatting and Norma. I missed you both. Sorry, sorry, sorry,
Oh,
sorry. Choice
today
is not
was
always a
very.
magic one, says Norma. We sometimes have to action it different from original choice. Yes. Bless them all, Joseph. Are you leaving still? Yeah, I had to leave and come back, Norma. No, Bina was still there. And Joseph says, if you take the medicine, you will clearly understand the mixture, like ayahuasca is a mother or grandmother. Yeah, I understand, Joseph, that there are entities that have this, but in the case of those two particularly, I don't see them as such. Mescalito is very clearly a masculine entity. There's no doubt about that. I was simply saying in this case, it's anthropomorphized, which is different, right? With the tura and with the mushroom, the psilocybin, the smoke mixture, right? So there are entities that have gender to them, absolutely, yeah, or at least have gender qualities, right? That are perceived that or behave in a way. Again, our interpretation via confirmation bias is also very profound, right? Experiences in this world can go beyond worlds. Absolutely, Joseph. Norma says because they also have responsibilities of children too. I'm not sure what you mean there, but we'll come back to it, Norma. Ask next time. Male-like, that's a better way of saying it than it. Yeah, male-like than male. Correct, correct. Definitely, Joseph. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Beena, I like that. Oh, so Beena, Joseph comments when the AI gets a new one for you, right? Like Binance, it says for Beena. I don't know how it gets to Binance, but today it's Pina, Pina. Yeah.
Beena.
I like that
Okay.
one too. Joseph also says, or you have to have clarity in some specific way, or to have clarity in some specific way can be dangerous. Yes, yes. I mean, for
Oh.
instance, well, if you get the clarity of a serial killer, a very successful serial killer, very dangerous, right? They're very
Mm.
clear on how to go about their horrible business. Yeah, see? Yeah, yeah. That's so, clarity of criminality, for instance. That lead you down that wormhole, right? Or that vortex, suck
Yes.
you in, and that's the end of you. All right, I have to go, and we shall see you all tomorrow. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Norma. I'm
Yes.
glad I checked your comments. Love your comments always. Absolutely love your comments. Very cool. Yeah, yeah. And tomorrow, hopefully, we'll have everything working good again. I just have to reboot the computer and all that. So brilliant, brilliant. Somebody messaged me. Okay. Uh, uh, okay. Will you take care of? Well, we got Juan. I don't know if
Okay.
he's a Don Juan, but anyway, we have a Juan
Yes.
who is messaging us. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So,
Okay. Thank you
so
so much, everyone.
yeah.
See you guys tomorrow.
All right. All right. Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Let me end all the meetings and then I go to. Come on. Okay.